Hello, this is Mr.Milnarik. Now I'm going to be switching roles for a few minutes and I'm going to kind of walk you through this science experiment to explain or to observe and help explain why ice melts faster in fresh water as opposed to salt water. So I'm following the procedure that you guys were all given here, step by step. Now I've already made my colored ice, that's in the freezer, and those are the first two steps of the procedure. So we'll get that ice in a minute. So I'm going to jump in right here at number 3. And since we are going to be watching ice melt for a little while, I'm also going to share my top 5 ice jokes. So you have that to look forward to as well. So jumping into the day of the experiment, number 3 in the list, we're going to get a large to medium container with cold water, which I have. It is all an even temperature right now, and I've already mixed it up so that I know the temperature is even inside of this. All right, I have my labels here, salt water and fresh water. That's the next step. That's number 4. All right, so I'm going to create salt water in this, and that's for my fresh water there. All right, so I need to add water to these glasses. We're supposed to do 1 cup. Now I want to make sure that the amount is exact in each cup, because in science it's very important that those factors are controlled and that they are the same. So there's my next cup. I've measured a cup exactly, and I'm pouring that in there. Alright, very good. Now since this is going to be my salt water, my penguin water, where our glaciers are, I'm going to add my tablespoon of salt. And I'm going to mix that up real good to get a nice, good, salty mix in here. And I want that salt to start dissolving. And in just a minute, I'm going to go grab my ice cubes out of the freezer. And we are going to get some initial measurements as to how big they are. So I'm going to go do that now. Okay, so here I have my colored ice cubes, which I made earlier. Now it's very important that your colored ice cubes are the exact same size. I tried very careful to measure that out. So I'm going to take 2 colored ice cubes out, 1 and 2. Alright, and now what we need to do is we need to measure them. I'm going to use centimeters, the centimeter side of my ruler. Alright, we're going to measure the length, which is... we're going to call that 4.5 centimeters. So I'm writing that in the before, 4.5. And let's see what my width is. My width is 2.5 centimeters exact. So 4.5 by 2.5. And my height is looking to be... Let's see, I'm going to get down here. That's 3 centimeters. 4.5 by 2.5 by 3 centimeters. Oop, my freshwater sign is falling down. That's all right, I'm going to leave it there for now. And I want to do this fast before it melts. Let's make sure my other dimensions are correct. That is 3 centimeters high. That is 4.5 centimeters long. And the width also matches at 2.5 centimeters. That's fantastic. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add them to my ice cups, and I'm going to start my timer. So there's my fresh water, here's my salt water, and let's get this timer going. Okay, here's my fresh water at the 30-second mark. Let's go ahead and pause the video if you need to, make an observation. Here's my salt water at about the 30-second mark. As you can see, the food coloring is starting to come out of the ice. It is starting to melt. Okay, now we are at about the 1-minute mark. See if you notice anything different about the freshwater ice cube and the saltwater ice cube. Okay, now we're at about a minute and a half. So take a look at the freshwater ice cube there. And the saltwater ice cube there. As you can see, the saltwater ice cube, at least from this angle, appears to be larger still. That means it is melting more slowly. I can see some of the food coloring going to the bottom there. And here's my first ice joke while we're waiting. What happens when my ice house falls apart? Glue it back together. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That was number 5. Alright, now we are at about 2 minutes right now. As we can see, the freshwater ice cube is getting smaller. I can see some food coloring going to the bottom. Here is my saltwater ice cube. Okay. All right, next ice joke. Why are there so many ruts at the skating rink? I think it's because the maintenance crew is slipping up. All right, we are approaching the 4-minute mark now, which is the next point at which we are going to make an observation. Okay, it is now 4 minutes into the experiment. And there's our freshwater ice cube. And here is our saltwater ice cube. Interesting, I'm noticing my food coloring seems to be floating more around the top in the salt water. And I'm not exactly sure why that is. You'll notice it doesn't seem to be doing that exact same thing on the freshwater side. All right, here we go. Ice joke number 3. What happens when an ice cube gets angry? It boils with anger and then it lets off some steam. I mean, these are pretty good guys, right? Come on. Give me a break here. All right, we are between 5 and 6 minutes right now. Here's my salt water. Give you another angle on this too. The top view down. Here's my fresh water. Here's the view from the top. All right, it is just about the 6-minute mark now. So go ahead and make your 6-minute observations. And here is the saltwater side at 6 minutes. So for ice joke number 4, why did the strangers go out onto the frozen pond to meet each other? Because they figured it would be a good way to break the ice. Now, if I had a drummer to do that little comedy drum roll that's when he would have done it. So we still have about another 30 seconds until we hit the 8-minute mark and make our final observation. Then we're going to have to do some measurements, of course. So remember, our salt and our freshwater ice cube started out the same size. That was 4.5 by 2.5 by 3 centimeters. Now we're going to do a comparison measurement at the end to see exactly what their sizes are at the end of the experiment. Again, I'm going to try and do it fast. It's a little messy, but I'm curious to see what the results are. Alright, it's 8 minutes now. Make your final observations. What do we notice about the saltwater ice cube? And what do we notice about the freshwater ice cube? And we'll get some precise measurements in just a second. Alright, let's get some measurements on these cubes here. I'm going to start with my freshwater cube. I'm going to put that here. And here's my saltwater cube. And I'm going to put that here. Now visually, I can see that the saltwater cube did not melt as much, but let's get those measurements. Alright, I'll measure the longer side first. My freshwater cube is now 3.5. That was the original 4.5 measurement. By 2. And let's get that height. By about 2. Okay? And let's get the measurement on our salt water. We're still looking at 4 centimeters. Down from 4.5, not much of a difference. By about 2. That's about the same as the other one. And let's check that height out. We still got a good 2.5 on the height. So that didn't go down a whole lot either. So we have some measurements to support that the saltwater cube did not melt as much. Okay, let's take a look at the glasses. So let's observe what the saltwater glass looks like as my ice cubes just kind of melt and mess up my table. That's okay. And let's take a look at the freshwater here. All right. So now it is time to do the final ice joke. Okay, and after that you can go on and finish up your lab sheet and draw your conclusions. Okay, what do you call someone who is cold and alone? Totally isolated. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this experiment, or at least watching this experiment, and I hope it helps you to make some observations and fill out your lab.